Welcome back for another video. Still one game left before Gameweek 24 wraps up, but with the earlier deadline on Friday, it's an earlier team selection video than usual as well. It's been a bit of a disaster week actually. A red arrow down to 63k with 78 points. I've got Tarkowski, Salah, Trent and Slot to play still. Let's see if Trent even makes the game after missing their League Cup defeat to Plymouth. Colwell home to West Ham came away with 2 points, while Munoz's 11-pointer away at Man United on my bench. But worst of all was Wood to Wissa. Spurs have absolutely killed me this season. Some of you will remember selling an out-of-form Solanke before that 16-pointer against Villa. And then there was benching Porro away at Man City when they unexpectedly won 4-0 and he scored. He got something like 14 points that game. And of course a bare-bones Spurs side playing away shut Brentford out as well. So just 4 points between Wissa and Mbumo. Selling Wood could have been delayed a week, so maybe that was a massive mistake, but I just liked Wissa home to Spurs more, and making that move freed up the money to buy Tarkowski instead of Mykolenko, who I fancied more for the double. So the only positive really was Tarkowski getting the assist for an 11-pointer, though even he had his bonus points reduced and he ended up on 10. So he's going to need to outscore Mykolenko by something like 10 points in the Liverpool game, which is absolutely not happening. So yeah, it was one of those weeks. I mean, we all have stinker game weeks every season. But yeah, the positive is still being 63k. Assistant managers active for another double game week and plenty of chips to play still. So we had a double game week 25 announced last week, which led to that last minute decision to use the assistant manager chip on Slot. Liverpool needed to knock Spurs out of the League Cup to get that double in 25, which is what I was backing to happen. And it did happen in the end. They won very comfortably 4-0. So Aston Villa and Liverpool have got double game week 25, and they'll have a blank game week 29, along with Palace and Newcastle as well. I'm of course on triple Liverpool, so I'm looking at Villa, and it's a tricky one because unless you're free hitting in game week 29, do you spend a valuable transfer to essentially gain a fixture against Liverpool and then lose a fixture in game week 29? Let's run through the team for double game week 25 and transfer plans this week. In goal, rise away to Leicester next, which is a fixture that's got Arsenal top of the game week 25 clean sheet odds, except for Liverpool and Villa's combined odds for both games in terms of keeping at least one clean sheet. Arsenal, as expected, weren't able to turn around that 2-0 result versus Newcastle in the first leg of the League Cup, so they don't have a double game week 25 either, but they also don't blank in game week 25, which is handy. I saw reports this week that Saka could be back before game week 29 as well, which could be very handy for navigating that week. In defence, it's Munoz, Colwell and Trent. Palace, 4th on the clean sheet odds with a home game against Everton. They got just 8 points from their opening 12 games, Palace, 22 points in their 12 games since. Fixtures do create form, that's exactly what we've seen recently. I'm hoping they can get another return or two in these next 4 games before the blank. So I'm recording before Liverpool and Everton conclude the game week, and the big question is, will Trent make the game? And if not, will he make double game week 25? It'd be a massive shame if I have to spend a transfer there if he's out. It'd be an awkward one because they've got a home game to Southampton as well in a few weeks right before the blank in 29. And if I have to sell to another Liverpool defender, then I'm obviously not going to switch back for that one game. I'm weighing up whether a Villa defender is worth it as well this week, in addition to going Trent to another Liverpool defender if Trent's out. So lastly, Colwell, off the back of that painful 2-pointer last game week. I think it's fair to say Fofana's injuries had a massive effect on the solidity of their defence. Just 1 clean sheet since game week 14 over that run since he got injured. So yeah, it's not great playing him away to Brighton, especially given Brighton just knocked them out of the FA Cup as well, 2-1, in the exact same fixture. The alternative option is to play Tarkowski and just hope for a 0-0 game against Palace, given I've got Munoz as well. So in midfield it's Bruno, Salah, Palmer, Semenyo and Mbumo. So let's get the obvious out of the way. Salah captain again. The obvious pick, even if Trent's 100% available, I just think Salah's way better. A brace against Bournemouth as well from 0.8 expected goals shows the level that he's playing at. He just keeps delivering from some unlikely scenarios at times. So as mentioned earlier, Liverpool were knocked out of the FA Cup by Plymouth. That was a huge upset. And Spurs were also knocked out. And they play each other in game week 34, meaning that won't be a blank game week now, and we won't have any further double game weeks for Liverpool after next game week. It is technically possible if there's another weather postponement, for example, or if Brighton were to reach the FA Cup final, it might be possible for Liverpool to double in 36. I think it's safe to say 25 is the last one we're going to get for them. Mbumo feels quite a template right now, so I'm happy to have Wissa as well, despite the blank last game week. Plus they've got some great fixtures as well, and no blank in 29. They're playing away to West Ham next, where I'm hoping for lots of goals sitting on that double up in attack. Brentford are the only team in the league that have got 2 players that have scored 10 plus goals. So Chelsea knocked out the FA Cup as well, which means there's currently 2 games definitely going ahead in Gameweek 34. Chelsea versus Everton, Liverpool versus Spurs. It should be 4 to 8 teams that blank in total in Gameweek 34, and likewise 4 to 8 teams that double in Gameweek 33. So why is that relevant now? Well, it's relevant because I need to decide on my chip strategy, whether I free hit in blank Gameweek 29, free hit blank Gameweek 34, maybe in a double Gameweek elsewhere. After selling Gordon for Mbumo last Gameweek, that brought me down to 4 players that blank in 29, not counting slot of course. So it shouldn't be too difficult for me to navigate it, and therefore I'm aiming to save the free hit and maybe use it in blank Gameweek 34. It is team dependent though, like if you've got 3 Liverpool players, double Newcastle, maybe 1 or 2 Palace players etc, then it makes more sense to use the chip in 29. It's an amazing fixture for Bournemouth next, Semenyo playing away to Southampton. He actually scored a penalty in the FA Cup on the weekend, with Kluivert not on the pitch at the time, so it's good to know he's probably the backup taker currently. With those upcoming fixtures, I actually do think doubling up on Bournemouth in midfield is perfectly fine. You could even add a defender instead as a third, or just go 1 midfielder, 1 defender, Kirkes or Howsam. I mean, there's no way that I'm selling Salah, Palmer and Mbumo, and I can't help but think selling Bruno, despite how hit and miss he's been, isn't necessary. Man United have now lost 7 of their first 13 home games in the Premier League this season, their joint most at this stage of the league campaign since 1893-94, also 7, it's like 130 years ago, absolutely shocking record. But where do I go with him that's a clear upgrade? And maybe Kluivert is with those fixtures, but I mean Bruno's got Spurs, which isn't a bad fixture at all right now, nor is Everton necessarily, plus they've got Ipswich home after that, and they've got Leicester away in blank Gameweek 29. So for better or worse, I think I'm stuck with him for now. Which sometimes happens in FPL when you've got other priorities. You just have to hope the player you're stuck with does well. Like Semenyo is a good example actually. I've been stuck with him for a while and he's come back around to being a good asset again. Could happen with Bruno still. So up front it's Wissa and Isak. Maybe I'm biased or deluded, but I look at this team and I think it's pretty good. So it's pretty hilarious how badly it did last week. I am betting on Brentford to get some results now though, and that is the risk when you go double up. Like last game week, when the team fails to score, then that's 2 guaranteed blanks, as opposed to hedging your bets, spreading the players around on different teams. I mean, these two do link up frequently, so there is that high upside potential as well, if they're assisting each other. And the big question this week is what to do with Isak. I've got loads of money tied up in him from all those price rises. He's having his best season ever as well, but he does have some rough fixtures. He blanks in Gameweek 29 as well, and then there's Watkins with a double Gameweek now as well. I mean, points over team value is what matters. Like if I hold Isak and he blanks against City, while Watkins bags a couple of goals against Ipswich, and maybe blanks against Liverpool, that's still 15 points gone. You can really make a strong case both sides though, like the form Isak and Newcastle have been in. He could easily bag in those fixtures, like it wouldn't be that surprising if he scores against City, Forest and Liverpool, and then he's got West Ham before the blank. So the bench this week is Fabianski, Tarkowski, Greaves and Strand Larsen. If we get a positive update on Strand Larsen, then I'll move him up the bench. So the assistant manager chip is active still on slot for another couple of game weeks, so I've just got the 0.3 mil on the bank, 1 free transfer. Transfer plans this week are going to be dictated by Trent injury news. If Trent misses the Everton game and he's ruled out for Gameweek 25 as well, then I'm looking to do Trent to Konate and then Tarkowski to Gabriel. This lets me bench Colwell as well, and I can play Gabriel against Leicester. And it let me bench Colwell away to Villa as well in Gameweek 26 actually, or I could bench Tarkowski home to Man United, whichever I would have played that week. If Trent is fine, then the current plan is to roll the transfer. Gameweek 26, the last week they'll have the assistant manager active, and Liverpool are away to Man City that week, so I wouldn't mind having an extra free transfer banked to potentially sell slot for a 1 week punt. I've looked at other options as well, like Isak to Watkins as I said earlier, or even Greaves to Disasi, but I'm just not convinced by either at the moment. If I'm going to do either, then I think it'd be Isak to Watkins. Like Villa have got a lot of defenders out, plus Konsa went off injured in the FA Cup. Like if Konsa's out for the double, then it does mean 4.2 mil Disasi is nailed in centre back. But what are the realistic clean sheet chances? So I need to think it over more. There is one underlying thing that makes Watkins tempting. Like if I'm saying I'm not free hitting in Gameweek 29, then realistically I'm going to have to sell Isak regardless most likely. So if I'm selling him regardless later, then I could sell him now and take advantage of that double. I'd like to keep Strand Larsen as well, assuming he's fit by then. It's over a month away to be fair, and Wolves have got Southampton. And obviously I'm keeping Wissa, so I'm looking at Isak and thinking maybe I will sell him in Gameweek 29. So anyway, that's where I'm at with the team and the transfer plans. Thanks for watching. There's more FPL content to come before the deadline, so make sure you are subscribed. Let us know below how many points you're on currently. I've pinned a comment. See you soon for the next one.